Fellow Ugandans, on the 14th of January 2021, we went to the polls. It was clear even from the days before the election that Museveni was headed for a resounding defeat. Various independent opinion polls showed that Museveni could not even get 30% in a free and fair election. The mood all over the country was clear. Ugandans wanted change. Knowing what awaited him, Museveni started arresting thousands of our supporters, picking them from their homes at night, from their workplaces, or even along the roads, and detaining them in unknown places. Many of our brothers and sisters disappeared, and they've never been seen again. Those who have been lucky to return have spoken of being subjected to unspeakable torture and brutality. Some of our supporters have been castrated. Others have had their eyes and fingernails plucked out, their limbs broken, and their manhoods shattered. On 18th and 19th of November last year, on Museveni's orders, more than 100 Ugandans were shot and killed in cold blood. After that massacre, he came out chest thumping and congratulated his boys for a job well done. Up to this day, no one has been held accountable for these crimes against humanity. Just like the cold-blooded murders of Yasin Kauma, Rita Nabukenya, Dani Cheyune, Hakim Sekamwa, Hassan Waliendo, Frank Senteza, and many others, the regime silenced their grieving families, and that was it. The presidential campaign was turned into an exhibition of impunity. I survived 3 attempts at my life, and my comrades survived even many more. Some of our friends did not make it alive. Many comrades and journalists sustained permanent injuries. 2 weeks to the date of voting, my entire campaign team was arrested and subjected to all manner of torture and humiliation before they were thrown into a prison where they are languishing up to the present day. Museveni switched off the internet and ordered media houses not to report or even talk about the results from the polling stations as they came in. International election observers had already been shut out. Foreign journalists were targeted, and some of them were deported for the fear that they would expose the state-inspired violence and election fraud that was happening at that time. With this state of affairs, Museveni, aided by the Electoral Commission and the military, rigged the election like never before in the history of Uganda. In many districts of northern and western Uganda, citizens went to vote at 9 in the morning, but were told that the voting for the president had already ended. They could only vote for MPs and go back home. Voters wondered how ballot boxes were full of ballot papers even before the voting started. So many of our polling agents and supervisors had already been rounded up and taken to prison. In several districts such as Kwaniya, Isinjiro, Rukunjiri, Kabong, and many others, soldiers traveling in military trucks went from polling station to polling station, ticking all available presidential ballot papers in favor of Museveni. Those who dared to question the criminality were quickly silenced by bullets and batons. But even with this ballot stuffing, we were still leading Museveni with a clear margin. And then, Mr. Byabakama, whether on gunpoint or out of collusion, he started reading things which only he can explain where they were coming from. Those who represented us at the National Tally Center spoke of how state operatives filled the entire Tally Center, and it is thought that these are the people who were feeding Mr. Byabakama with the results that he was reading, completely not reflecting what had come from the polling stations. Then on the 16th of January, by 4 p.m., Mr. Byabakama completed the fraud and announced Museveni as the winner. Once again, General Museveni and his small clique of gunmen imposed themselves on the people of Uganda. Up to now, the Electoral Commission is still grappling with forged results. A look at Byabakama's declared results will shock you. These people, they did not apply any smart thinking in their rigging. It was crude. At hundreds of polling stations, the dead resurrected and voted. Byabakama claims that 100% registered voters turned up and voted. Some presiding officers were not intelligent in their overzealousness. The number of those who voted was actually more than the number of the registered voters by far. Knowing the kind of election fraud that he had just committed, Museven quickly placed me under house arrest as hundreds of soldiers surrounded my home and our party head office. Having disabled our U-Vote app by switching off the entire internet, they knew we were still determined to tally our results, and so they started arresting all our comrades who had DR forms. And then the abductions and kidnaps intensified in those dreaded vehicles commonly known as drones. By the time the High Court ordered for my release from house arrest, there were only 4 days remaining to petition the Supreme Court about the suppression of the voice of the people of Uganda. Despite so many doubts about the Supreme Court from so many people, we decided to give the judicial process a chance. We all now know what Museven has done to our public institutions. The Supreme Court clearly showed outright bias. The Chief Justice, through his conduct and comments, showed that the matter before him was decided long before we even filed it. So it was because of these reasons that we decided to withdraw the case from the Supreme Court and bring it to you, people of Uganda. With the fraudulent announcement, Mr. Byabakama and his 6 electoral commissioners suffocated the voice of the people of Uganda. And then Mr. Uwinyidoro and his panel of 8 people shut out our evidence and denied us an opportunity to amend our petition and raise other strong grounds, an opportunity that had been given to the previous petitioners in a similar matter. All these individuals hold offices in trust of the people of Uganda, but they betrayed that trust and chose to please the one who appointed them, leaving Ugandans totally on their own. So today, I want to once again remind all of you, my fellow Ugandans, that we are on our own. I have brought the case back to the court of the people, and the people of Uganda must now sit, in fact stand, and give judgment in this case. In 1980, General Museven took part in an election which he lost miserably. He claimed that the election had been rigged and started a war. 500,000 of our people died in pursuit for a better Uganda. But look what Museven has done. He has betrayed the blood of our people and has done many times worse than the regimes he castigated for rigging elections and for killing people and for causing enforced disappearances. Ugandans must now rise to the occasion and resist Museven and his regime of blood. As we have been saying, we are non-violent and lawful. Our philosophy stands firm. People power is stronger than the people in power. Article 3 of our country's constitution empowers the citizens of Uganda to do everything in their power to restore the constitutional order once it has been overthrown, just like it is under Museven. That is the next phase of our struggle. Many of you fellow Ugandans have been asking us what is next. The answer is you, me, all of us. The answer is people power. I therefore call upon all of you fellow Ugandans to rise and demand for our election victory, to demand for the immediate release of all the political prisoners, to demand that the security agencies immediately bring back all our people that have been abducted and kidnapped by the government in drones. We want our people back, dead or alive. Let us demand for an end to trying civilians in military courts. Fellow Ugandans, here and all over the world, let us stand up to the relevant offices and demand for answers. You can wear your mask and demonstrate peacefully. It is within the law. It may take shorter or longer, but I can assure you that if we come together and protest and demonstrate against the dictatorship, we shall get positive results. I call upon all of you fellow citizens of Uganda to rise and evoke Article 29 of our Constitution and demonstrate against a regime that has oppressed us and exploited us and turned us into slaves in our own country. To all our leaders, this is your time to offer leadership to our people as we embark on the next phase of the struggle. To you fellow Ugandans in the diaspora, please stand up and demonstrate at all our embassies all over the world at the parliaments in your countries and all relevant offices. To the men and women in uniform, the police and the military, I urge you to respect the right of the people of Uganda to protest peacefully. Your constitutional duty is to offer security to the people of Uganda, not to beat them or even kill them. I call upon all the forces of change to remember that this is not about any particular political party or politician. This is about our nation. The time is now. We must do this for ourselves. We must do it for our children, for our children's children. We must do it for God and our country.